Being a social entrepreneur can be very challenging, yet very rewarding. In the summer of 2008, the idea behind Yeşilist was born. We were new mothers looking for organic products for our children and for our families. In 2008, the chances were that if you were looking for an organic product, you had to research it. You had to find it. You didn't have many options. You had to identify it. And probably you had to go get it, and meanwhile be very persistent, because the chances were they were not very easily accessible. And at the time, you would have lots of people telling you, why don't you go and use a conventional product instead? Conventional food, why don't you consume that one? So we thought, if we're feeling this way, there must be other people feeling the same way. How about if we understand what's happening in the organic sector in Turkey? Who are the producers? Where do we find these products? What is available? So with that idea, we set out to find out the organic sector. We tried to map it. We found something very astonishing. About some 90% of what was being produced in Turkey was being exported due to lack of local demand. So demand is a big issue, because when people don't demand, the producers cannot increase their capacity. They were small producers mostly, but they couldn't reach the consumer. And those that they did were the lucky ones. So producers were in silos, and so were the consumers. We said, why don't we catalog these green businesses so people can access them? And it wasn't just going to be just cataloging and listing. We would tell their stories, tell the stories behind the products, have people meet with their producers, understand them, rate their products, rate their businesses, share them, and most important of all, find where you could access these products. So we thought, great, we have an idea here. But another thing that we wanted to do was bring these producers and seller consumers together online. And we thought the producers are in silos, but actually the consumers was very lonely too. I had lots of people giving me the outlook, oh, you really think you're going to save the world just by changing your habits? What difference does it make? It makes a great deal of difference. It made a difference to me. So I knew that it would make a great deal of difference to other people too. So what do you do when you want to set up a website? You go and meet technology partners. So we knocked on the doors. The technology partners that we met at the time all told us pretty much the same thing. You know, the sector is very ripe in Turkey. No, you shouldn't really do it. It's not a good business. You can't really get great returns on this. Why not go into private shopping? It's going to be the in thing in 2009. We said, really, we agree, but it's not our thing. Pretty much all the technology partners said, we are not going to partner with you, but we're going to do it for you at great cost. It was going to be a startup. We had to minimize costs. So what do you do? We were really confused. Except I think one technology partner said, you know what, you seem to be very persistent. Try to do something very low-key and tap into the waters, and when the business is ripe, you can take it forward. So, of course, when everybody around you tells you that you shouldn't, not only technology partners, people around me really didn't support the idea. And all these people are saying, you know what, you shouldn't. It's very romantic, very nice, but, you know, organic Turkey, it's for the US, Europe, but it's not for us yet. It's going to grow. So I pondered for a few months because lots of people telling me no. And finally, I said, okay, I'll give it a go. March 2010. I think the first lesson, the worst thing about every social entrepreneur should think about is you should never let people talk you out of it, because the chances are, if you feel there's a problem with something, there are other people who are feeling the same way. And if you think you're going to solve a problem for yourself, you're going to probably solve a problem for other people. So with that started my journey for Yeşilist. I first actually found a one-man IT team, something that I would always advocate against because it's all like putting all your eggs in one basket. We had a researcher. We had an editor. There's so many Starbucks you can spend a day at, so we had to find a roof to go under. And at the time, a fellow entrepreneur friend, she really was very supportive. She offered to share office space. She shared her know-how. And she really pulled us through those times. Because really, you need that support network to get going. And I think something really amazing happened with our team and with my support network, which actually grew over time, that we managed to get through this period. It was very important for us. And of course, a lot of people didn't know us. Who were we? They didn't know what we were doing. Who is the issue list? Who are you people? We weren't in the industry before. Nobody knew they didn't know us, and we didn't know them. We have not been in the organic sector before. So we did lots of explaining, lots of cold calls. We actually cold called each and every organic business, service provider, producer that we could get our hands on. We called them, introduce ourselves. And they would be like, who? Why? Who are you? Who? Yeşil, who? Oh, Ist. Oh, it's for Istanbul. We were like, no, this is for the whole country. And we were trying to do lots of talking and explaining. And soon, we met with a handful of them. Some people really believed in us. Some people were very skeptic. Others completely dissed us. And with lots of pulling forward, we managed to have the website ready. And in the October of 2010, our website was ready, test version. I was very excited. I thought, okay, great. So I should give it a go. Because really, my second and my big advice is to any social entrepreneur is, you have to have a great team and a good support network. Because that's what pulls you through. Because you should endure the people who tell you, oh, it's not a good idea. You won't really get through this. And it's very important. And of course, one of the key components of any business is to keep it financially stable and sustainable. I was in finance sector before, and I said, okay, I need some funding. So what do? I go and knock on the doors of the fellow investors that I knew. I knocked on lots of doors, and oh, no, but they were looking for very high returns. There was no way that I could, meet the kind of returns they were looking for. I was looking, literally and metaphorically speaking, looking for an angel investor. I couldn't find that person. And soon I gave up because everybody was telling me, oh, no, we won't give you funding. And I said, okay, at this point, then I should just take a step back and raise funds through my own means. I think to this day, this is one of my biggest regrets, because in 2013, I met with social business investors, and I didn't know they existed. Actually, they were around, and I had no idea about this. So I met them, and I realized I didn't look hard enough, far enough, and I wasn't being persistent about that. So my big advice is, if you're a social entrepreneur, you should go into this and look for financing as early as possible, as soon as possible, and as persistent as possible. Because the chances are there are people who are willing to support you financially. It's just a matter of finding them. I didn't do that well. And so our team was ready. We launched the website. It was great. And it was just like, I said, okay, I'm done. We have a website. It's up and running. Little did I know. It is like opening a store and waiting for customers to come. It doesn't happen easily. We did lots of explaining to do. We have to tell people who we were, what we were doing. Most of the time, I used to get blank looks. Oh, so what is your real daytime job? What do you do in real life? I used to say, this is what I do. I am in this 100%. Oh. It was always like, oh, or the blank look. It was not really nice. And people really thought it was very romantic, We had our share of people giving us the other one. But it was interesting. But however, something happened. We were creating fresh content every day for Yeşilis. We were giving people tips on green living in Istanbul. We were telling them where to buy these products, where to go, the brands to recommend, what is actually good for them, and what is happening, green tips, where do they do, what to do, recycling. Pretty much everything that we could get our hands on as much as possible with a small team. And sooner than later, two things happened. First, there are the small organic producers. There are the NGOs that are raising awareness on the environmental threats and what's happening all over the country. There are the social civil initiatives that pop around all over the cities. And Yeşilist became a domain to bridge everyone. It soon became a trusted resource. We had people reaching out to us to say, what do you suggest? What product shall we do? Which society shall we join? Which NGO do you recommend? Which ones do you support? Of course, we didn't have the answers, but we just spoke from our hearts. But still, people were very unsure who we were. I think this even became more apparent when we did a major campaign against an urban development project done by Ağoğlu. They were building a massive urban construction project right next to Istanbul's infamous Fatih Forest, a project covering an area of 320,000 square meters. We said, you know, a project of this size is bound to threaten the habitat of the forest. But also, in addition to the fact that the infrastructure needs of this kind of a complex, they would be using, the residents of this development would be using a certain portion of the forest for their own exclusive use with recreational areas that they would create. This is a forest that I take my kids. This is a forest that we go as Istanbulites. So as a concerned Istanbulite, we started a campaign online through change.org. And within about 10 days to 15, we had some 50,000 people signing our petition. We were amazed. We didn't expect this. And I think through that spark that we ignited, a conversation started between the media, civil society, and the government, and especially the central government. And soon, through that spark, the Ministry of Forestry evoked their rights to have exclusive rights to use the forest. And this was actually very big for us, but also confused people more. Who were we? What do we do? Are we an NGO? Are we a civil society's initiative? A lot of people, especially in the media, they didn't know us, and they used to say, Yeşilist an initiative, or a group of Yeşilist people. So who we were is actually, we are a green startup. We want to support and empower green businesses, the producers, they're small enterprises. We want to empower and support green initiatives all over the country, be it NGOs, be it civil society, be it university organizations, be it small projects, big projects, as long as we believe in them, as long as we believe that people put their heart into it, that's what we want to do. And we want people to understand this, that there are options to be green, to pursue this. We want them to realize this, so we are trying to empower them, because actually, having a green lifestyle is not that as hard as they say. It's very easy. It's just a matter of you going and finding those solutions and understanding them. So soon, we met with companies, we met with people, we consulted companies, we met with our audience. We wanted to get to know them. Who were they? We wanted them to get to know us. We met with them, we spoke to them, we organized events. We explained ourselves. Yeşilist became a platform for companies to tell their stories, for people to tell their stories. We wanted everyone around. And we met with lots of people. We wanted to get to know our audience, and we know them, we learned them. We wanted to understand what they wanted from us so that we could deliver as much as we could within our capacity. So it's very important. My fourth advice is know your audience, because it's really important. If you know them, you deliver, because when there's a dialogue, then that dialogue carries you forward. Because as much as that support network and the good team that take you off the ground, the audience actually lifts you up further up. It's very important. I think for any social entrepreneur, there are lots of storms to be endured. financial problems, websites getting hacked, people telling things, people saying no after thousands of meetings. Illnesses, just regular stuff happening. Your team members leaving for any reason, that they're going to another country to pursue a degree or something happening. But you have to always remember why you started it. To me, the reason why I started this was because of my kids. I want to be able to leave them an earth as beautiful as I grew up in. There's so many things that we are doing to earth. There's so many things that we are not really doing right. And I want them to know that, and I want them to be able to understand that. And I also want people to help me fight climate change, fight the environmental degradation, understand that we are a part of this earth, and we have to do something about this. I don't want my kids to tell me, Mommy, why you knew what was happening. Why didn't you do anything? I think that would hurt me most. But above all, I think as a social entrepreneur, the most important thing is having fun. I love what I do. I have so much fun with it. When you like what you do, other people understand it and understand why you're in this, what really got you this, why you were that crazy person who was doing this. They may give you the odd look, but at the end of the day, they will understand. And when you have fun, they will start having fun with you. So I think it is what gets you through those hard times. Thank you.